Welcome back to the Links Golf Club podcast, everyone. As always, we are thrilled to have you with us, especially in this brand new year of 2025. We're still learning the ropes. If you have feedback, good or bad, please drop it in the comments or hit us up on the member Discord. Linksdown members, make sure you are signed up in the clubhouse and following us on socials. All the links are in the description below. We have some big, long overdue news coming, so you'll want to make sure that you are notified when that news drops. I'm Gregory, and I'm going to be your host today. And we've got our usual crew here with me. We've got Cooper.
Hey, Happy New Year. I'm Cooper.
And we have Chris.
Happy New Year, everybody. How long do we think it's okay to keep saying Happy New Year after the New Year?
December 31st, 2025.
How about that?
What was the famous Larry David had a bit on this and Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? It was a couple of days. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
I'll give it
January.
a week. I'll give it a week max, I'd say.
Yeah, I would say the first time you see someone, I would almost be even more aggressive than that. I think January 2nd is kind of the cutoff for me. If I saw someone on January 3rd, just move into the year. Just burn the ships behind us, sail forward.
Looking forward.
Yeah.
Love
Always.
it. Love it.
Cool. So before we jump in, anything y'all want to mention up front?
Just a reminder for all Links members, jump into the clubhouse, clubhouse.links.golf. Access over 70 awesome benefits from the best brands in golf, including some of our new partners, the Stack System, Ria Eyewear, and many, many more. Plus access to all the courses, links, leagues, and a bunch of awesome stuff. So make sure to check it out.
Yeah, to follow up on that, make sure you wear a glove when using your stack system. You may have noticed. I got some practice in on New Year's Day. And then to lower your scores even further, pop into the Linksdown Discord, post a swing in our swing analysis channel, and have a great 2025 golf season. Beyond that, I'm still reeling from the Rose Bowl blowout, but that's neither here nor there. We can dive in a little bit further on golf.
OHIO. My niece is a student at The Ohio State University, so I'm rooting for them for here on out, even though I grew up a Notre Dame fan. All right, well, let's just dispense with the formalities and plow forward into this very, very, very exciting episode we have planned here. We're going to talk about our 2025 goals. We're going to reflect a bit on how 2024 went. And we will be focusing exclusively on our personal objectives as well as our personal golf objectives. But we're not going to step on any other news related to Link's DAO goals because we're going to be making some pretty major announcements here soon. And we don't want to step on those now. And we know that those will be heavily featured on this podcast in the future. So this is just going to be about Cooper, Chris, and me. And we hope that it spurs on some conversation and thoughtfulness as you prepare for your own 2025 year. It's a great time to do that. So our focus is going to be on that today. And we're going to start by reflecting on 2024. So we're going to do a quick retro, a quick look back. And Cooper, I'm going to start with you. What were some of the standout highlights or challenges that you encountered in the last year?
Yeah. Highlight for accomplishment, I think, has to be the 100 holes that we did together at the summer solstice. Physical, mental, kind of even personal, getting out there and just having a great time, but also that grueling 28 miles of walking, playing all that golf. So that was a great achievement. Lessons learned in the warm up and the training there, overtraining, filming that video, doing one-handed push-ups with a golf bag on your back. Not great for the shoulder, for the golf swing. So, got to ease into things like that. Couple of goals that I didn't hit, right? I'm engaged. I want to plan a wedding, get married, buy a house. So some ups and downs, right, in 2024. But overall, good year, no prohibitive injuries. Played about 100 rounds of golf. So happy about it.
Chris, what about you? 2024, how'd it go?
Yeah, I feel like it went pretty well, all things considered. So had a few goals, which, some I'm running back this year, a variation of this year, but health-wise, fitness-wise, kind of hit my workout goals, exercise goals. Golf, the big one was to get under a 10 handicap, and did that. So that was a big W. And, a few other kind of tangential goals. So all in all, feeling pretty good. It's kind of like, we had a kid in 2023. So in 2024, I was like, okay, less disruption. We can reset, get back on the wagon here. And more or less did that. So feeling pretty good about 2024, but up only getting better in 2025.
For sure. Yeah, as I close the chapter on 2024, I sort of think of my goals, and it'll show when we talk about 2025 is I like mental models. So the Benjamin Franklin Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise has always sort of made sense to me. So I always set goals around health, wisdom, and wealth, which is, kind of not just making money, but just like skill based and setting myself up for success and whatever. So my health goal was definitely to lose a bunch of weight. And in 2024, I did get down to my lowest weight since 2016, which was exciting. And then I the last half of the year gained 20 pounds back, which is, if you've ever been fat, you probably know that story too well. So I did lose some weight, but not as much as I wanted. So spoiler alert, that will carry into 2025. Second thing is I played a bunch of new golf courses and was really blessed to be able to travel to some new places and experience some new courses. Shout out to Punchbowl, which made it really easy to track this and remember this. But of my top 10 favorite courses on my Punchbowl list, I played 9 of them either for the first time or I returned to them. So went back to Sweetens, Royal Dornoch for the first time, went back to Tobacco Road, then Cruden Bay for the first time, Bethpage Red for the first time, back to Spey Bay, Park Mammoth for the first time in Kentucky, which is amazing, Cabot Carew for the first time, and then Irondequoit. So got to experience a lot of courses that I consider to be my favorite this past year, which was great. That was definitely a goal of mine. And then lastly, similar to Chris, to just vastly improve my golf game. I started out as a 14.1, ended as a 7.8 index. The goal was to be single digit. Feel really good about that. I also broke 80 for the first time and then did it a couple more times through the end of the year. My main goals, like very intentional golf practice goals, were get more accurate off the tee, hit more greens, and then reduce 3-putts so I can then reduce big numbers. And if you look at my ARCO stats, if you look at my TrackMan stats, all of those things happen. So we'll talk about 2025 and further improvements, but getting from 14.1 down to 7.8, I'm really proud of. But also I'm proud of the commitment to specificity. I didn't spend a lot of time on wedges. I didn't spend a lot of time on things that didn't matter. I had a plan. My coach had a plan. We got there. So now let's pivot over to 2025. So we talked about 2024. We reflected a bit on the year, the things that went well, the things that didn't go well. Now we're going to talk about our personal goals for 2025. So Chris, Coop, I've asked you to each come with 3 personal goals. We're going to rotate through each of us just to kind of mix things up a bit. Chris, we're going to start with you. Share your first personal goal that you hope to achieve in 2025.
Yeah, starting off with a pretty simple one here. It's a variation of what I did last year. So last year set a goal, work out 3 times a week. Pretty straightforward. This year I'm upping it to 4 times a week. So raising the bar a little bit.
All right.
But I like simple goals that are easy to track. It's very it's quantitative, it's black and white, am I hitting it? Am I not? So very clearly hit it last year, up in the bar a bit. I also find that this one, it's kind of like a forcing function for some other good, healthy habits or other goals, right? Like when working out, obviously can help the golf game, or, if I gotta, whatever, get to sleep on time or not waste a bunch of time in order to get the workout in or whatever else, that kind of stuff. So keeping it pretty simple with the first one, feeling good about it, hopefully keep up in the bar every year and just make it a little bit better.
And can you define it? What is a workout to you? Is it just any activity? Is it an Apple Fitness goal? What is a workout for you?
That is a very good point. So my general rule of thumb is 30 minutes of actual exercise activity. In general, it's, breaking a sweat or whatever, but not necessarily I'm doing do some yoga or mobility stuff or whatever, that'll count, but at least 30 minutes. And then also my golf rule, my kind of combination of bringing golf into this is if I walk, I'll count it as a workout. if I'm riding in a cart, I won't. So like there's no double counting. Actually have to get some work in. Obviously that one's a little different, right? If you're just walking, but walk around at golf, you walk 6 miles, that's legitimate. Or if you walk 100 holes, that counts too.
True. All right, but I do like the opportunity to double dip on walking rounds and getting your exercise in, which I like. And it is, I mean, you get if people think that 10,000 steps is a good sort of indicator for a healthy day or a movie day, then and you get your heart rate up. I like it. I support that fully. Cooper, yours is kind of similar in the body composition way. Why don't you share with us what your 2025 first personal goal is?
Yeah, so it's also workout related. I've been keeping myself pretty consistent over the past year with working out. 2024, I quit nicotine, so excited to go into 2025 with that foundation. And my goal right now, working with a personal trainer, is to have a combined squat, deadlift, and bench and overhead press of over 1,000 pounds. So I added overhead press because I'm not a huge guy to begin with, so that 1,000 pound number is pretty hard to get to on the squat and deadlift numbers. I just throw bench in there, but throw shoulders, overhead press in. Today I haven't done. I need to do a baseline and see where I am with like 1 rep maxes. I don't like to chase numbers, but for this I do want to uh, go for that combined number over the course of a year. So I think today I'm definitely over 800 pounds on the 4 of those combined, probably about 825. Um, I think the easiest gains there are going to be in squat and deadlift with a lot more core lower body strength, which translates really well into stability, balance, and power in my golf game. And then, another thing that's going to be required to do this is to pack on some pounds of muscle. So I'm going to have to eat leaner, eat a lot more protein more consistently, which is part of my fitness goal for the year. So it all kind of flows into that. It's not as weekly measurable as I'd like, right, to see the progress on that. So I'm really going to lean hard on my work with my personal trainer and consistency and going to the gym to make that function. And I'll probably set quarterly or monthly check-ins to see if I'm on track, but I got to get a baseline first.
Yeah, I think both of you had touched on two things. As someone who's professionally and personally set goals for a long time, that's really important is the measurement of it, obviously. If you don't have a numerical goal, that you're probably not going to make any progress. So you hear some people's New Year's resolutions are just like, be healthier. It's like, that's a pretty bad goal. People talk about SMART goals. There's lots of frameworks for all of this in business. But another thing I think, Cooper, is like getting the baseline as soon as possible is super important, is like understanding the actual progress. One of the things where I kind of went off the rails last year is I focused so much on just weight for losing the weight rather than body composition, like getting an actual fat test. And so at some point I plateaued, even though I was losing fat, and I didn't have a good way to measure that. And then I just kind of was like, well, if I stop lifting as much or eat as much protein, maybe I'll lose some weight, but I actually lost much. So having like a consistent benchmark and then way to measure is super great advice for anyone who's considering doing goals. Mine also workout related. My goal is run 500 miles. Last year I only ran 144. Spent a lot of time like thinking about what I want to focus on with workouts. Part of the reason, Chris, I asked you is like I want to go to the gym. I'm gonna reduce the amount of time I go to the gym to probably just 2 times a week and just do some compound lifts and just kind of keep the muscles going. But I really love running. I did a sprint triathlon a couple years ago, and the bike, you do the swim, do the running. The running was definitely my favorite, mostly because you just need shoes and a watch, and maybe not even the watch. It's just it's simple, it's basic. As I get older, I want to like reduce complexity as much as possible. Might be ironic because I just talked about like how to create metrics around your goals, but running is just super simple, and you get to listen to a podcast, get to be outside, and so I'd like to run 500 miles. So roughly, let's say 10 miles a week pace. Obviously, like volume will go up and everything else. So that's my main
That
one.
was that a goal last year?
No,
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 okay.
I didn't
So
have any
new
running goals.
running goal is a new one.
Yeah. So the running goal is new. I did run, mostly like the lead up to the summer solstice stuff. But I'm getting older, want my heart to be in shape. So would love to see that resting heart rate continue to come down. And I think the running the miles is just like, a milestone for just keeping myself accountable to keeping the volume up. All right. Number 2, Chris, what's your second personal goal for 2025?
Yeah, switching gears a little bit with this one. So, well, the goal is less than 30 minutes a day of social media consumption, screen time. This is something I've kind of toyed with in the past and really did it. And, it is a little bit tough also in doing social related stuff with work, like during the day.
Feel that.
But yeah, but the gist here is minimize doom scrolling, mindless scrolling, kind of not productive time. The kind of stuff that can eat into, it's an hour past when I wanted to go to bed and I'm still here scrolling Twitter, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And some of the garbage that can get into your mind that way as well. So that's the goal, but I am defining it kind of how I'll track it. The easy way to track it is just on my iPhone. There's screen time and it'll measure it all for you. So that makes it easy. In my tentative plan, we'll see how this goes for trying to like ease out any work related stuff is I'll just do all of that on desktop. And so that won't get caught up in my my iPhone app timer limit that captures what'll hopefully be kind of the personal use for that. So it'll keep it like, okay, I don't have to worry about whatever doing something work related on it. It's working against my goal or whatever, and I just turn off the timer. But that's the goal. I haven't actually done this one ever in the past, I've thought about it. So I'm interested to see how it goes. But I do think it'll be a positive if I can make it happen. I also toyed with what the number should be. I don't know if that 30 minutes sounds like reasonable or too high or too low to you guys, but I'm hoping it makes sense.
Do you have any like order of magnitude of what it is now? Like, do you know where you're starting?
So I went on my phone and checked, but it only, at least as my quick look, it only gave me like the past week.
Mhm.
There must be some way to go back and look at a longer time horizon, but for like the past 3 days, it was like 37 minutes of just Twitter. That was per day. But also that was capturing like the holidays and stuff. So I don't know how accurate that is. So my best guess was it was a good threshold, but it was, just the best guess.
Yeah, I mostly asked because I looked at mine recently too, and just like the Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, disgusting how much time I spend, and it like that helped me understand a lot of because I don't know. I think I heard you say like try to like keep some of that stuff out of your brain. I agree with that, but I also just the other thing you said is like I want to get to bed earlier. Like there's so many other things I want to do with my time rather than just passively watching YouTube and looking through feeds. And that's where it really came to me as like, oh, well, I want to accomplish all of these things in 2025. Holy shit. Like spending 3 hours a day on social media and watching YouTube videos could be best spent doing something else. So 100%.
Totally.
Cooper, what about you? Second goal.
Well, the best way is to copy other people's plans. So Ben Franklin, like you already mentioned, healthy, wealthy, and wise. My number 2 here is about wealthy. Been in crypto since like 2012, right? Always sold too early, round tripped, never or entered into bull market seasons with no money, right? And I finally kind of feel like I'm set up for 2025 financially to you know invest, make good decisions, but most importantly, take profits and not round trip some of these positions that I'm in. So I feel like I've learned some things. I feel like connected with good people in the space, and I will be selling. Maybe not at the top. I can't chase that, right? But try to make sure I take profit along the way and just be satisfied with the wins. If they're not generational wealth or 100x's, because there is a lot of pressure in this industry, this world, to hold something until it becomes the next Doge, right? And that's just not the case. It's not going to happen for everything. And a 2x a few times a month is a fantastic thing. So keeping that in mind, keeping my expectations reasonable, and taking profits along the way is going to be a mantra for me this year.
Wise words from Philadelphia's second favorite son. I like it. That's great. I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to say 2. One is I want to make at least 500 GitHub commits I really only started coding a lot in September of last year, just using Cursor and AI. And last year I had 144 commits. It's kind of hard to baseline because I took a lot of November, December off, and I didn't start until September. So there's just like huge amount of activity. But 500 might be too low, and I might have to up this depending on where we go because I do anticipate coding a lot. AI has been really, really fun because you can just have an idea and spin something up in a matter of hours, and other people can play with it. So whether it be, maybe having a longer tail product that I work on over the course of the year, even if it's just for me, do I let other people use it? Do I just build, one thing a week? It doesn't really matter. I'm just tracking it by GitHub commits because it's really easy to see that every time you commit, it tracks it. It shows this really awesome graph of what days you're active and the intensity of your activity. And then it's something that anyone can see. So it's easy to hold myself accountable, and you can see other people's stuff as well. So my second part of that is I want to meet 50 new people that I've never met before this year and have at least a 15-minute phone call with them in the product engineering or golf space. I am a terrible networker, and as I reflect on my last sort of year, I don't really I haven't expanded my network in a very long time other than, I met a bunch of people and, when Link started, and I've met people through work, whether it be partnership discussions or whatever, but I haven't really expanded my network. So one big focus for me personally going into the next year, and why it's kind of related to the GitHub stuff, is I just want to meet 50 brand new people. So, and each person I meet, hopefully that person will introduce me to someone new. So I set 50 because it's like roughly once a week. And that will also help me get out of my sometimes very introverted, only talk to people that I really know, and get me talking to new people. So that's my third goal. That's my second goal. Let's round it out. Third goal, Chris, what's your last personal goal of the year?
Yeah, switching gears again a little bit for this one, trying to get a good variety here. But so this year, the goal is to volunteer 2 times. Could be the same organization, could be 2 different organizations. In many ways, that seems like a very low bar, but uh, I mean, basically, the past number of years, we had kids, young kids, and there's a lot of time has gotten sunk into that and out of kind of extracurricular stuff. So trying to get back in that game, basically. And, what I find is that it takes, like, if I don't try and make time for it and actually think about it, it just won't happen just because there's not the kind of spare time that there once was. So establishing a goal for it, and specifically upfront, that'll require thinking about, okay, what do I want to devote my time to? And, in that regard specifically, and, hopefully establish something that will go, far on into the future, right? Not just be like 2 times this year or whatever. And also, I guess I should say by volunteering, I mean, I can't just be 15 minutes doing something or whatever, right? Like kind of, I guess, call it 2 days of volunteering. It's probably the better way to say it. So that's goal number 3. Feel pretty good about that one.
Love it. I think sometimes starting a new habit, the hardest thing is going from 0 to 1, and it's so easy to say, I'm going to volunteer 20 times this year and then volunteer 0 times a year. So I like the idea of, all right, I'm going to set this pretty attainable goal. And I know that if I do it, it's going to make me feel really good. And then hopefully then that becomes a consistent, or maybe not, but hopefully it does. And then I can do more. So I think there's a lot of intelligent goal setting in that number, which doesn't surprise me because you're a smart guy. Coop, bring us home
Yeah.
for you.
Goal number 3 for me is a carryover from my 2022-2023 session. Didn't manage to accomplish getting married or buying a house. I am engaged, so I'm a lot of the way there on that. It may just need to be going to the courthouse and doing that this year. But that would be the wisest decision. My fiance is great, so I think that would be really good. And if we come across a house or the market, housing market, throw something our way, great. But one of those two, I think, would be a fantastic thing to accomplish this year.
Great. Agreed.
Going big. Love
Yeah.
it.
And I have dibs on ring bearer, just so you know. So I already have my tux.
Perfect.
Would be happy to step up for you in that way. So my last personal goal of this next year, it's a very specific one because it relates specifically to an app called Pimsler. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a learning language method that also has an app, and there are levels. Mandarin, which is the language that I'm trying to learn, has 5 levels. I want to make it through level 2, which means 60 lessons. So just over a lesson a week. I just started doing it yesterday. It came highly recommended from my wife's friend who has used it to learn Japanese. I use Duo, and as a product person, Duo is a remarkable achievement in growth and engagement. It's incredible, and there's obviously lots of stuff around how kind of dark it is sometimes and how obsessed people get. But I had a 444-day Duolingo streak that mostly started because I'd heard that the European captain, who I'm of course blanking on his name right now, who was Euro's captain coming up as well this year for the Ryder Cup.
Luke Donald?
Thank you, Luke Donald. Sorry, Luke. You responded to my tweet when I called you out on this, so I feel like we're personal friends now. But Luke Donald, in the lead up to the Rome Ryder Cup, he had like a 300 and something day streak. He doesn't even remember, apparently. I asked him on Twitter and he said, I don't remember, but I know that yours was more than mine. So my goal was to beat Luke Donald as an American patriot and Ryder Cup fan, to beat Luke Donald because he had this long streak of Italian. And if you were a Ryder Cup follower, you saw him just like go into this amazing intro in Italian at the press conference, whereas Jack Johnson said like "Buongiorno" from *Inglourious Bastards*, and that's it. I wanted to learn Mandarin, and I have a new method that I think will be better because honestly, after 440 days, I learned very little. I have like a functional vocabulary of like 20 words in my active memory. I cannot hold a conversation. It was a long period of time that was very much wasted. Part of that is because the streak kind of incentivizes you to do the minimal possible to keep the streak going, right? It's like, okay, cool. I can do this in 5 minutes. I can extend my streak one day. And sure, I'd like to spend more time later. Pimsler, from what I look from looking at it, it seems better designed for success there. So to hold myself accountable, I want to complete the 60 lessons, get to level 2, which I think means that I'd have a functional vocabulary of about 500 words. Which, if I go to China, that should be enough at least not to have my wife with me the entire time, even just to get coffee or order food. So that's my third.
I was just going to say Duolingo getting a drive-by here. So
Oh, yeah.
rough day for them. Well, I'll strike the Duolingo partnership off the list for 2025.
Please do. In fact, tell them that we're going with Pimsler instead. It can be like Homa going with Cobra. We can just like get a bunch of stuff going on how we're moving from Duolingo to Pimsler and gaming the Pimsler app instead.
I also feel like I need to hear more about this dark side of Duo you just mentioned. Maybe that's an offline thing. We'll take that offline.
We'll take it offline. It's well documented the dark patterns that they use to get you obsessed. But it's also why it's one of the best growth products maybe in the history of the Western world. It's amazing. All right, so let's get to 2025 golf goals, specifically centering around golf. So we're going to do a similar format. I asked each of you to come with 3 goals. I came with 3 myself. Let's talk through in a round robin format what those 3 goals are. Cooper, I'm going to start with you. What is your first golf goal of 2025?
Sure. Unlike the two of you, I did not manage to break into single-digit handicaps or sustain it this past year. My low handicap was a 9.2, 9.3, but I'm back over 11. I'd love to set an index number as a goal, but I don't think that's how I want to measure it. The way I want to measure it is by breaking 80 over 20 times in 2025. So there's a number of rounds played goal in there, right? As a function of that, I have to play a certain number of rounds in order to do that. And there's a scoring and intentionality goal in there that's not necessarily tied to the aggregate, handicap, but index, but to my outcomes on the course, right? We'll see how it plays out. Feeling really good about it. I think I can get there. There's going to be practice. There's going to be a lot that goes into reaching for that goal. And then I think as a result, right, I'll see a single digit handicap as a second order effect of that outcome. But that's my first golf goal of the year.
I like it. I like it because one of the things I hate about, and this is a spoiler alert to Chris and my goals of having a handicap goal, is you kind of don't know where you are round to round. You know that you have to hit a certain differential, and that'll mean it goes down or it'll go up because you kind of have a working sense of what your last five. But it's just so complicated. So I do like the idea of just like I'm just gonna try to go out there and break 80 and just kind of let the chips fall where they may. I think is a good attitude, and I'm confident you can do it. And like you said, if you do that, your handicap will be under 10 for sure, solidly. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, my first goal is a handicap goal, but I had the exact same debate, and I feel like I have it every year. Like, do I establish a specific goal for my index, or do I not, and break it into other goals or what have you? But I've kind of circled back to just setting a handicap goal for the primary reason that, like I said before, it's just simple and very black and white. I can just kind of leave it like that. I mean, the downside is definitely kind of what you described, Cooper. What I find is, it sucks to be on the course and be like, oh, I got to hit this number to improve my handicap, or, this XYZ, and you're just thinking about that the whole round. It kind of sucks some of the fun out of it. Just kind of can make you focus in on the wrong things, or just, in the wrong headspace. But despite that, it is kind of the best measure of, just where your game's at. And it's very black and white and very quantitative. So I am making goal number one, getting to a 5, 9.3 currently. I went somewhere like 11 or 12 last year down to 9.3. So got to single digits as I was hoping to. But the goal is 5 for this year, which honestly feels like miles away.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are thinking, but just thinking about the scores that'll have to go behind that. But got a year. We'll hope to chip away at it and get there, because ultimately, to play at that level, you got to get there one way or the other. I as part of this, I kind of have 3 sub goals. I don't know if I'll track. Well, I guess I probably will track them, pretty specifically, but aiming to get down to an average of 1 double bogey a round. I track my scores pretty religiously. It was at 3.4 double bogeys or worse per round last year. That includes like really bad rounds, right? And go into handicap index or whatever. But as our buddy Lou Stagner says many times on Twitter, John Sherman and many, many smart golf people say that the key to lower scores is reducing high scores rather than, more birdies and eagles. So that's a big one. Get down to an average of 1 double bogey or worse per round. Shout out Arcos. Have tracked my game pretty religiously over the past couple of years. And if there's one consistent message that comes back on my game, it is my irons suck compared to the rest of my game. So right now, my shot scan approach is like 3 strokes worse than every other category of my game. So the sub goal there is to get it within like 1 shot of everything else. That's like 2 of the 4 shots I need to gain right there. And then the last one, I think this is going to end up being a little trickier, but I want to get better at up and downs around the green. When I play with really good players, I feel like that is something that can largely be automatic, or at least it looks automatic for many folks. And I just feel like I'm nowhere close to that. More or less bears out in like the Arcos data that it shows me or whatever. But Arcos does specifically track that like up and down from, 0 to 25 yards and 20 to 50 yards. So the specific goal that I'm going to try to hit is getting to a 50% up and down percentage from 0 to 25 yards from the pin, from the green, however it tracks it. which I think is attainable. Arcos says it's 40% for an 8 handicap, which is my current target in the app. So yeah, ballpark seems right. And I think it'll force me to be more intentional about those shots when I'm playing, and also practice them more, because that's one thing I like. I spend very little time practicing around the green, chipping, bunker shots, everything. It's like range, putting green. So a lot of sub goals packed within there, but overall, aiming to get down to a 5. Hopefully, those sub goals help me get there with a little more clarity too.
Yeah, mine is the identical goal this year that you have. It's a checkpoint towards a larger North Star, which is, I really want to get better at and do more quote unquote competitive golf. I say that because when I play lowercase c competitive golf, like a match for $1 or whatever, both of you have experienced this in the last 2 weeks, I just completely evacuate myself and just the game is just not there. And I just like candidly, like why that makes me feel so self-conscious is that it's very rare that I'm able to show people the growth that I've had in my golf game, right? So I spent like, I can't wait to play against Chris. We're going down. He's going to see how much better I've gotten. And I just lay a big fat egg. Oh, Cooper, I'm really excited to play. Like, I'm really going to, just don't play well. And so, like, in the back of my head, it's like, well, do they think I'm cheating? Am I like, is it a vanity handicap? Like,
We think.
whatever. 100%. I know what you guys talk about behind me. You've said it in our own DMs. You thought I wasn't in there, but I was. And so, like, it worries me, to be honest. And so, like, I want to put more pressure on myself. And to me, the only way to do that is to jump into the fire. So I say this year is a 5, which it is, but it's a milestone that before I turn 45, so that's 6 years away, I want to at least get to a 2.4 so that I can become eligible to enter a mid-am local qualifier. So you have to have a 2.4 handicap. And I'm declaring this and declaring my intention because I want to move towards that, which means I still need to focus on making sure that my body is right. I still need to focus on speed. I still need to have a coach. I still need like all of these things that need to be in place. I'm declaring that as on the outset. Now, in my second goal, I'll talk about how I need to balance that with fun, but like this is very much the performance goal and how seriously I want to take golf. So really, it's just like to your point, Chris, and I kind of laughed when you said this, and it wasn't about this is going to be hard for you specifically. It's just going from a 14 to a 7.8 was hard, like, but really all I focused on was getting a little bit more accurate off the tees because that was, really it wasn't distance that I was losing strokes to a 9 handicap. It was accuracy, getting better at approach. That's still the area like you that I'm losing against a 5, but that's an area that I've gained against, an 8. And no 3 putts. Those were my 3 goals going into the year, and I feel like I did that, which is why it dropped. Getting to a 7.8 down to a 5, and I've run the numbers on like what my differentials are going to have to be even at my home course. It feels impossible. So like I need to come up with a plan, meeting with a coach next week. I'm sure we can do it, but it feels very hard to go just those 2.8.
Yeah, it's
so
intimidating for sure.
Yeah, like I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we're going to do
I
it.
love the long-term goal though. The mid-am North Star multi-year effort like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm over 25, so there's only 2 eligibility criteria, right? You gotta be over 25 and you have to have it under a 2.4. So I have one of those already done just by virtue of breathing still. So I think we can do the other one. Cooper, what about you? What's your second goal?
My second goal is to keep better track of my golf data, right? I know, Chris, mentioned you do it religiously. You can plot these stats about your number of double bogeys. I use Arcos, which is a fantastic tool. Again, shout out Arcos. If Duolingo is a dark coded app, Arcos is the gold standard,
Arcos is
right?
great.
For all of us.
No notes on there.
We really love Arcos here, and Links members, of course, get the free trial and the sensors and everything. So jump into that if you haven't. It's really worth it. I have 100 rounds started in 2024 on Arcos, but I didn't do a great job of tracking all of my shots. I don't review my data and mark my tech points against a 5 handicap or whatever my goals are. So to that end, I want to post 100 rounds in Arcos complete this year, right? If not all to Jin, I want to post 100 to Arcos and make sure that I track all of that data really closely, and that's gonna, I think, be the key to stepping up and looking for those improvements. So if I do go out and shoot an 81 and I really, really wanted to get that 79 for my goal number one, I can see where I went wrong, right? And know how to improve it for the next one. Yeah, better data tracking, I think, is gonna lead to improvements across the board. And then maybe I'll be able to go and get a coach like you, Greg, and say, hey, here's where I need help. Because right
Yeah.
now I don't know. I'm just out there for the vibes.
It definitely helps when you have Arcos going into a professional and saying, "Here's what I'm seeing," right? And a good professional is gonna wanna know that anyway. I mean, there's gonna be plenty of people who will take your money and just say, like, "Here's what I don't like about your swing," even though I think that's, like, the least important thing to care about. But knowing, "Hey, this is where I struggle," like, Chris being as precise as saying 0 to 25, is just so helpful because it's like, why spend time on stuff you can always get better at the stuff you're already good at. Like, that's why I do wanna gain a little bit of distance, even though it's not gonna be necessarily for me to get to a 5 handicap because I'm already gaining strokes on distance from a 5 handicap. But my iron play is absolutely gonna prevent me from that, and I know that looking at Arcos because similar to Chris, I'm losing 1.2 strokes on a 5 handicap right now in iron play, and that is most of the gap. I'm zero point 0.2 in putting and zero point 0.2 around the greens right now, which is weird because that's always what I felt like is the strongest part of my game, but that's what Arcos helps with. It's like, hey, maybe I should go back out and practice because at least recently I'm not getting as up and down as I should be. So Arcos, great on itself. Arcos plus coach, secret sauce for sure.
So, second golf goal is to play 5 new top courses, new to me top courses this year. Defining top as either, ranked on some top 100 lists, US World, whatever, or on my Punch Bowl wish list.
Now we're
Or
talking.
I keep track of some courses I want to play. So like Sweden's Cove would be one that would qualify, I'd say, right? Even if it's not like ranked on a list or whatever, really want to play it. So that would count and, it'd be new to me and everything else. So that is the goal. This past year was like by far my best year in that regard. Just for I mean, obviously we had a ton of awesome signature events from links, got to play a ton of awesome courses in Scotland through, Spay Bay relationships and reciprocals and all that good stuff. A number of other rounds from just informally connecting with other links members and playing some great courses. And I would just really enjoy that. I enjoy playing new courses in general, but obviously when they're really high quality or well regarded or, stood the test of time, that's even better. So just want to keep that going. So hopefully some of those will be in Scotland on some Spay Bay trips this year and some in the US, not defining which courses I'm aiming to play just yet, but want to make sure to play some good ones this year.
Yeah, so my second one is cheating a bit again, but there's a 1 and a 1A that makes sense compared to what my first goal was, which was very performance-based, very outcome-based. This also has to do with how I score, but it's intentionally built to help me balance serious rounds with more fun rounds. So last week, Cooper was in town. We went to play it against Sport to the budget and bought some vintage clubs, something that I wanted to do for a really long time. Just started with a set, over time. I think I'm a collector. I love history. I'm sure I'll swap some things out, but I now have a full 14 club bag of clubs that were built in the 70s and 80s for the most part. And I want to definitely play more rounds with that, but I'm not ready to go exclusively that because I still do want to become a better golfer with modern equipment and score lower. So my second goal then is to break 75 at least twice from and it's hard because like different courses, but not the tips on a championship course because I'm not long enough to do that, but going further back than my member tees at my home course. So something 6,400, 6,700, challenge myself a little bit more than where I am and break 75 at least twice from there, knowing that I'm going to have to shoot that low anyway to get down to the 5, although you'd be surprised with how high you can shoot to still get to a 5 handicap. But I do want to stretch myself, and I think this leads to some of the distance stuff, the stack system training we've been doing, although I've been not as good at that recently. But I do want to get longer off the tee, and I do want to stretch myself to have longer irons into greens, even if I don't increase my distance off the tee, play from further tees, break 75 at least twice. However, I also want to break 90 12 times with vintage clubs, which are wildly different goals. But Coop, I've now played twice with them. Played with Coop, I probably shot, I don't know, 97, something like that. I definitely didn't break 90. I didn't really keep score because we were playing match play. I went out again, definitely didn't break 90. So I feel like it's actually a challenge with the clubs that I have. And it's not so much impossible, it's just the big numbers are very much in play. Ironically, I don't think I lost any balls. Maybe I lost one. I don't think I lost very many balls, at least in those 2 rounds. But I definitely cold shanked a drive 50 yards into a fairway to the right, which left a really long par 5 coming up. And I hit a beautiful drive into the fairway of a par 5 and then shanked a 3-iron. So it's just like there's so much more randomness in it, which is what makes it really fun, but it also makes it to me more challenging. So I think it's going to help me become a better ball striker. I think it's going to give me like a different mentality on those rounds and like break some things up a little bit. If there's ever a feel like, oh, I played too much golf, throw the vintage club in the car, go out and play at a fun course. So I would like to, though, have a measurement for that. So I'd like to do it 12 times. I like to break 90 12 times. That might mean that I have to play more than 12 times, but I do want to have the balance between fun and performance.
I think that's going to help the rest of your goals too, because you have to concentrate on ball striking and sweet spot so much more with those older clubs.
Yep.
Friend of the pod, Links member, Bucks, right? He has these Hickory classics, and I've never seen it's like the Tiger Woods sweet spot pattern on these sticks. I mean, if you don't hit it right off of that point, it's going to be a shank. There's
Yep.
just too much wiggle. There's no center of gravity. There's no MOI on those sticks. So, uh, I think if you're breaking 90 12 times with those, and then you go back to your regular clubs, it's going to feel like easy mode. It really is. So
So
that's a fun goal.
yeah, there was at least I think a 8-stroke difference in simulator on the same course between the 2 clubs last time I tried it. So there's definitely some variance there, but it's still nice to have the challenge. I think part of it is just like putting the pressure on yourself. Like, you know, it's cliche at this point, but like Bryson has talked about going low, and it's just like the reason he plays from the red tees is to put the pressure on being perfect, so that way he can go lower when he has to play from the tip. And that pressure, there's definitely rounds last year where I just fell apart in the last couple of holes when I was really close to a goal because I couldn't handle the pressure. So I think it's good to have that. All right, so we're rounding out now our 3rd golf goal. It's no surprise that our golf conversation has been about twice as long as our personal conversation because we're golf sickos. But Cooper, wrap us up here. What is your 3rd 2025 golf goal?
So this is kind of tangential to the scoring and self improvement thing, but I think it's something that I really want to get better at. One of the coolest parts about being a Lynx member and especially being part of the team is I get to play lots of really great courses, lots of events, lots of really cool people. Some of those we as an organization will hire a videographer and we'll film some stuff and produce it. But I personally want to get better at sharing my experience as being a Lynx member, being a Lynx team member, and producing and posting my own videos of my golf experiences. I regret that I didn't have my camera running when we were in Play It Again Sports, shopping for those clubs, and we went out and did it. Part of that is balancing, like, do I just want to do this thing and have a good time doing it and just be in the moment? And part of it is like filming. So, uh, finding a way to balance those things and producing 2 golf videos per month. That's shouldn't be too big of a lift, right? Even if they're just short form, I'm out here doing this, or here's a challenge, or even some of my practice plans, or how I'm working on my game, I think is going to be a good way to get those muscles, strengthened, right? It's another form of exercise, is that content creation. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of share. both the golf improvement journey, what we're doing here with links, and a lot more. Personally. So excited to dive into that. And if you have any content ideas or you want to join me in Philadelphia for a round of golf and shoot it on a video, hit me up. Love to get out and play, and we can film some stuff and go do some crazy challenges or matches or things like that.
Hell yeah.
Hashtag content.
Yeah.
Love it. We are the media now,
That's right.
as we've learned on X, formerly Twitter. Chris, what about you?
So my third goal is to play with 10 new to me Links members this year. Debating what the right number was here, but I think that feels right because played with a bunch of Links members already. So kind of being that, new folks that I haven't played with before to play around with them in the same group, not just meeting them or whatnot. That is the goal. So between rounds at Spey Bay, other events that we do in the US, not counting a simulator event, it has to be a green grass course, some signature events, or just meeting up with people, doing member hosted rounds or just informal meetups and playing with each other. That is the goal. I just stepping back a little bit, it's one of the goals is this year with Links, so we'll be doing more community related events and kind of be getting people together more frequently. But so I myself want to make sure that happens personally as well. And that's just been a ton of fun doing that in the past, over in Scotland and the US. And it's a blast meeting other Links members and kind of, other folks in the community and the shared effort that we're all a part of. So just want to keep that going this year as well.
Love it. It's maybe I should change my networking goal to something that's more golf related so I can play golf instead of talk to I like that one very much. And I think it will be harder for you because now in year, you 3 going into year 4, right? You've already met a lot of people. So you're really going to have to search new people out, which I like.
Yeah,
that
totally.
a lot.
You have to extend out of the New York City area a bit, maybe make that piece a little easier.
Yep.
Come down to Philly, meet some more Philly folks too.
Go out west.
And we can film some video while we're doing it. Hit 2 birds with 1 stone.
There we go. Love it.
The synergy between our goals is starting to come clear. I like it. My last one here is I'd like to play at least 5 courses off my Punch Bowl wish list. The hard thing right now is I don't have any specific golf travel plans. I don't have like a Bandon trip set up. I don't have a Sand Valley trip set up. I'm sure, hopefully I'll get to Scotland at some point for a Spey Bay event. But so that kind of limits me a bit because I don't have anything planned. And a lot of the places that are on my list, I would have to plan at least a year or 2 ahead. But there's a handful of places that I go to somewhat frequently, or it's likely that I will go to this year. So I'm filtering down just a selection, a sample of some of those courses that I want to play this year that come from my Punch Bowl wish list. Although the good thing about the Punch Bowl wish list is if I go somewhere, I can just filter it and likely there's going to be a public course or hopefully I know someone at a private course there that I can play. But Pinehurst number 2, I've been to Pinehurst twice and haven't played it. I'd love to check that one off. Ocean Course at Kiowa. I plan on being at Charleston at some point this year, although I might want to play Charleston Muni more, but Ocean Course is on that. Having been to Scotland twice and hopefully again this year, Cabot Highlands, formerly known as Castle Stewart, is on that list. It's just, I haven't made time for it. And there's a bunch of other places I want to play, but I just kind of want to check that one off the list.
If you wait late enough in the year, you might have 2 courses to play there and check 2 of your 5 off the list.
That'd be quite nice. Pasatiempo is another one that I just, with the renovation and everything, I've just consumed a lot of Pasatiempo content. In fact, today I was on a call where someone shared a Pasatiempo like print that was in their background. So it's just kind of, it's in my brain rattling around in there. And I haven't been out to Northern California probably 4 years. So I'm kind of itching to make it back out there. And I know we have a lot of Links members. Sleepy Hollow is up there. I've been on property but never played it. I'm in the New York area a lot, so that one's probably the hardest of those because it's the only one so far that on this list that's private. Prairie Dunes. I lived in Wichita when I was a kid. There's got to be someone I know at Prairie Dunes, so I'd love to make it there. And then Country Club of Buffalo is honestly probably my number 1 on this list that I want to play. It's Donald Ross course. I'm up in Buffalo at least once a year for Bills games, and it's really close to where my brother went to high school and where I was born. So it has this aura that I just really, really want to go play it. Uh, Earlier in the year, I went to play Grover Cleveland, which used to be the Country Club of Buffalo, where they had the 1912 U.S. Open, and I accidentally drove to the Country Club of Buffalo, and it made me want to play it even more because I was like, "This is the sickest Muni I've ever seen in my entire life," and oh, great. It's an exclusive private country club. So, I'd like to play, it doesn't have to be these. Just I want to check 5 courses off my wish list. Like both of you, I like playing new places and I like traveling, and hopefully I'll get to do it. We'll see how the year turns out. All right. So, to wrap up here, I think, Cooper, why don't you run us through
Yeah.
how we'd like to hear from people on the goals that they have for this next year?
Yeah. Thanks for listening to us yap about our goals. We want to hear what yours are, and maybe they'll inspire us, to modify ours, new measurement techniques, all kinds of other things that we can do. So, uh, personal goals, golf related goals. Let's keep each other accountable, root for each other. We've got a thread live in the Links Discord, so you can pop in, share your goals. We can check in on that. You can also leave a comment here on the YouTube or the linked tweet in the description. So we're going to be posting about it everywhere. But for more discussion, of course, pop into the community on Discord and we can dive in there.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. We are very excited for the new year. And I think all 3 of us pretty confident we're going to end this year better than the way that we found it. So I'm even more jazzed up hearing about y'all's goals. I think one of the big things that people talk about when they, there's a date in January where like most people give up on their goals that quickly. Part of it is just being alone in it. Like you want to be around other people who want to better themselves. And so just having this conversation made me even more excited about my goals this year. To all our listeners, we really want your feedback on the pod, how it's going. Do you want new guests? Do you want new topics? Do you want whatever? Just tell us what you want, good or bad, ideas, compliments, criticisms, no matter what it is, we want to hear it because we very much want to get better at this and we want this to be something that you really enjoy because it's for you. So let us know. We will get better. Cooper, Chris, anything that you want to plug as far as membership is concerned?
Well, just that we've got a lot of big things coming in for links in 2025. So keep an eye on Discord, on email, on Twitter, X, wherever you follow links, and stay tuned. It's going to be a fun year. We've got a lot going on with our goals, but a lot going on with links as well. So yeah, excited for the year to keep going and jump into it.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, thanks again. Coop, Chris, thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, y'all.
See y'all.
Happy New Year.